Abba Yahuwah, I just want to praise you and I just want to thank you for this day. I thank you for we are truly living in an exciting time in the world that we are living in right now. And we truly see how it's no longer just a talk that we can say, oh, the world is getting darker, because we really see the manifestation of thick darkness that is now starting to cover the earth, where people will call what is good evil and what is evil good. And people want to be able to be about themselves, and it's all about me, myself, and I, and that which the enemy wanted to do right in the beginning. What did the enemy do right in the beginning? The enemy's plan has not changed. And the plan right from the beginning was to be able to get mankind to be disobedient to commands, to laws, commands, because he himself was rebellious and did not want to submit, and managed to turn a third of the angels against Abba Yahuwah and had them thrown out of heaven. And then he managed to get Eve to be deceived by the same plan, to get them to rebel. So, Abba, my Father, this what we are now embarking on, the next few chapters of this book of Exodus that we will embark on, is so important for us to understand that you gave us a pattern, and the pattern was laid out for us, and the covenant was given to us, and the covenant was sprinkled with blood. And Mishpatim, right ruling, was given to us for us to understand that we don't just receive 10 commandments, but we received right rulings that go with the 10 commandments to understand the 10 commandments. Because the 10 commandments just on itself is not really being understood. But Abba, it's so scary to think that all these thousands of years later, we are still in the same place, eating from the hand of the enemy who gave Eve that fruit and said, eat. Eat so that you may be like Yahuwah. And so what do we see having been presented to us in this world? Man wants to be like Yahuwah. Man wants to be the God of their own lives. Man wants to serve themselves. Man wants to have no rules, doesn't want to submit to anything. Man wants to be a God unto himself. And even in a Christian faith, we can turn around and we can say, we serve Yeshua, but we want to serve a Yeshua that is totally lawless. Oh, Father, from where have we fallen? I ask you, my Father, to please forgive mankind. Please forgive us. For where we ourselves have shoved a fist in your face to say, I'll do it my way. And we do not want to submit. And we do not want to surrender. But we want to have our own way. And so, Abba, my Father, I ask you to come and teach us. Your pattern has been laid out from the beginning. When the commands were given to us on Mount Sinai, Moses did not only receive the commands, but he received the right rulings. And all of that goes into the Holy of Holies. even if it was only the tablets of stone that went into the Ark of the Covenant, but still your covenant of your right rulings, your Torah of your right rulings was put in the Holy of Holies. That is something that we are to be aware of. And so who will be those that will enter into the Holy of Holies? Those that are willing to come back to the pattern that was given to us from the beginning. And so, my Father, I just want to praise you. I want to thank you that you give us the grace, especially in this next few chapters, where we will look in detail at a tabernacle to understand your pattern, your covenant that was given, and what was the purpose of a tabernacle being built. And this is who we are supposed to be today, a tabernacle that carries your presence. So, my Father, I thank you that you come. Speak to my heart, speak to my mind, speak through my very lips, the oracles that will come from you. Father, I do not want to come and speak anything from myself. I want to come and lay myself down. And I ask you, Father, for your purposes and plans to prevail, that you will open up this word for us by your divine revelation. Father, I do not want to be reading this with my own eyes, but I want to read them. I want to read these scriptures with a mind of an understanding, with eyes of understanding, with ears of understanding, with a heart of understanding, to understand what it is that you want to say to us in this day. And so I thank you, Father, that you alone will be exalted through this teaching. In Yeshua's name. Hallelujah. And so, praise the Father, we are looking at Exodus chapter 24, which is where we will finish off, where the covenant was now going to be sprinkled with blood. But what were they going to do with this covenant? What were they going to do with it? So this is why from chapter 24, we go into chapter 25. And you know, I stand in awe. I'm so excited. Because why? Because when you understand the fullness of the plan, you know, it's like you sit with people and you try and help them that they got to come onto this path. But how do you bring them onto this path? It's sometimes not easy. But when you understand the fullness of how the Father planned everything in His Word, when you understand what the Father is doing, you'll understand His pattern. And when you understand His pattern, it just makes it so much more rich. Because it's a pattern. And His pattern is the last thing that He's now doing. You know, we've had many things. We've had the Reformation, then it's the Baptists raised up, and then it's the Methodists that raised up, and then it was... So this has been the church ages. But what is the last thing that needs to be done? The last thing that needs to be done is to be able to bring us back from where we fell. And this is what we're going to cover in chapter 24. The last thing is from where we fell. We fell in the Garden of Eden because we didn't want to obey His command. And the commands were going to be able to be, He gave one command: do not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Eat from the tree of life, because the tree of life was going to give us everything that we needed that was to be led by Abba Yahuwah, that would come from his mouth, that would come from his heart, that would be led fully by him. There was no mixed seed. Now you need to understand, when we get to chapter 25, when we get to the Ark of the Covenant, that is in the Holy of Holies, and that's the speaking place where the Father gives the instructions, where the Father speaks face to face. That's the Holy of Holies. That's the tree of life. And that is the last dispensation that we are in at the moment. And that is why it's so important that the fullness of the gospel of the kingdom is to be preached. The gospel of the kingdom. Because the gospel of the kingdom is to prepare us for the kingdom that's to come. Yeshua is coming. His kingdom that is got to come. And this is the gospel that must be preached. So that is why he's got to raise up his disciples, his priesthood, that must now go forth to establish his kingdom ways. And that is what he's going to do. And that is what he's been doing. And so people are going to get an opportunity to come into the fullness of truth. If they reject it, they will find themselves outside. Because they will not be able to eat from the tree of life. Because the tree of life, in Revelation 22 verses 14 says, those doing my commandments. How do you do his commandments without right rulings? You can't. Because for you to understand the commands, you have to understand mishpatim, you have to understand right rulings. And that is why we've had to work through Exodus 21, 22, 23, and by the end of 23, we get to the place of understanding that we are not to make a covenant with those in the land, and do not let them dwell in your land. We cannot make a covenant with anything other than making a covenant with the Father. Our covenant is with him. We can't bow our knee to the covenant of the things of this world. And this is exactly what was presented to mankind at the Olympic Games, which was a prophetic sign to say, we will have our table set. We will set our table. And we will have what we want to do. We want to be gods of our own lives. We do not want to break bread with the Messiah. We do not want your body. We do not want your blood. We do not want your sacrifice. We do not want to serve you. We want to sit at a table of debauchery. We want to sit at a table of rebellion. We want to sit at a table that we will say, that we will choose if we are a man or a woman, that we will choose who we want to be. We will choose what we want to serve. We will choose to be lawless. We will choose to serve the god Dionysus, which is the god of wine and entertainment, because he was the one offered on a plate with the delicacies. So instead of us coming to the table of Yahuwah to come and dine at his table, which is his word, which is his blood that was shed for us, which is his word that has been broken for us, we do not want the word, because we want to be our own gods. And we want entertainment. And we want to sit at the table with demons. And we want to sit with the whore of Babylon. And we want to feed at the table of the whore of Babylon that is serving them the wine of the doctrines of demons. Because that's what's being served. At that table is the wine that is being served of the doctrines of the demons. That's the same Hasatan that rebelled against the Father in the heavens when he says in Ezekiel that he saw him being thrown out onto the earth. He fell like lightning. And he was thrown onto the earth. And why was he thrown out? Because he was rebellious. He turned a third of the angels against Yahuwah, and he wanted to be like the Most High, and he made himself to be the Most High. And he said to them, do not follow him. Do not bow your knee to him. Do not bow your knee to his way and his orders. And where are we today? Exactly the same. And now you'll have many churches, many churches, that the doctrines of demons have got a hold of them to say, you don't need to be able to follow the law. The law has been all nailed to the cross. We follow Jesus. And now we are lawless. And now we are rebellious. And we still become a God unto ourselves because we have made him to what we want to be, to who he must serve. He must serve me. And I don't want to have any rules. And I don't want to obey any rules. But this is the kingdom, because this is what is going to be established again in the kingdom. If he says this is a law forever throughout your generations, then that means it is a law forever throughout our generations. It never changed. And this is what the devil has made us do, change the living Yah's word. So we're going to start to read in chapter 24 for us to understand this covenant that was given to us, because we have to understand that when we finished off in Exodus chapter 23, this whole thing was an understanding that I gave you the whole explanation of how the Father opened it up to me in terms of the fact that we are a land. And the Father wants to come and dwell in our land because we are to become the tabernacle that carries his presence. And that's why it's so interesting. Because by the time we get to chapter 25, this is what we're going to see. So the pattern is being laid out for us. He's giving us instructions. And after the instructions, we are to become the tabernacle that must carry his presence. We follow our Messiah, who became the living tabernacle on the earth. And we are to be able to be those that are to be restored to the tabernacle. We have to restore the fallen tent of David. It's written in the book of Acts chapter 15. It's written in Joel that it's the raising up of the fallen tent of David. And this is the time that we are in. So let us read Exodus chapter 24. And to Moshe he said, come up to Yahuwah, you and Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and you shall bow yourselves from a distance. So when you climb up Mount Sinai, you climb until you come to a plateau. And then you climb further up the mountain, which is almost about another 2-hour climb, to the top of Mount Sinai. So they climbed with Moses, and then they came to the plateau, and that's where the 70 elders stayed. They didn't go up the mountain. But you see, who may ascend the mountain of Yahuwah? Who may ascend the mountain of Yahuwah? Psalm 24. So he says, but Moshe shall draw near to Yahuwah by himself, and let them not draw near, nor let the people go up with him. So who did he climb with? He climbed up with the elders. He climbed up with the 70 elders. He climbed up with the priests. And Joshua was among them. He climbed up with the priests and the elders. So those elders that he had chosen to be rulers over the people, there were certain of those elders. Plus, he mentions by name the priests. Aaron with his sons. These were the priests. Aaron, Nadab, Abihu. These were his sons. And if we go look in Psalm 24, let's just go look at Psalm 24. Because we are being called to climb up the mountain. To climb up the mountain so that we may prepare the way and open the gates for the King of Glory to come in. So we need to open our gates to allow the King of Glory to come in, to come and dwell in our tabernacle. We are to be that tabernacle that must carry his glory. Because we are now in a time of glory. This Shabbat that's just gone past, the Father gave a shoe that was found in my garden that since I've been here we've never seen this shoe. It's made out of mesh, out of net, mesh. And we had just been breaking bread and we'd been doing the communion, and then we went outside, we were blowing shofars, and then Elsie found this, she went and gave water to the birds and found the shoe. And interesting. Father said to me, when I looked at the shoe, I put it there on the little wall, and I put the shoe on, and it was like it was like a Cinderella slipper, it's so cute. It's like a Cinderella slipper made out of mesh. Obviously been there for very long, a little bit disintegrated. And as I looked at the shoe, I saw it turn into gold. It was, now it's mesh and it had been rusted. It's rusted. It was the color of the sand, and that's why we couldn't really see it. And all of a sudden, I saw the shoe turning gold. And he said, you need to spray the shoe gold. And then he said, how beautiful are the shoes of those who bring good news. And we had just been doing the communion of like a release that we needed to be like the disciples that were being sent forth to go and proclaim, to be filled with his dunamis power and to go forth. So Father has got a people that he's got to raise up now, that he's wanting to send forth with a gospel message. But you see, we can't go with the gospel message of what has been preached almost the last 2,000 years, that is going to be a lawless gospel. We need a gospel of what it was from the time of Yeshua, what the disciples had. Not what was watered down over the last 2,000 years. So by the time we get to now, in 2024, we are so far from the truth, it's just not even funny. It doesn't even look like the original at all. We have just got counterfeits everywhere we look, because we are so far from the truth. Because the gospel has been watered down, watered down, watered down, watered down. Because it's either a gospel of prosperity or a gospel of deliverance or a gospel of healing or a gospel of signs and wonders and miracles. But where's the gospel of the kingdom? Until the gospel of the kingdom is preached, the end cannot come. The gospel of the kingdom must go forth. So we look and we see in Psalm 24 The earth belongs to Yahuwah and all that fills it, the world and all those who dwell in it. For he has founded it upon the seas, and upon the waters he does establish it. So you see, the world and those who dwell in it, for he has founded it upon the seas, and upon the waters he does establish it. Who does go up into the mountain of Yahuwah? Who is going to be ready to go up the mountain of Yahuwah? You see, when you go up the mountain of Yahuwah, what are you given on the top of the mountain of Yahuwah? What a revelation Father's just showing me right now. Right now, this is what I'm seeing. Oh my goodness. We go up the mountain of Yahuwah, and what were we given on top of the mountain of Yahuwah? So Father is calling us to go up the mountain. And when we come up the mountain, what is he going to do? We're going to come face to face with him, and what does he give Moses up on top of the mountain? He gives him the commands, and then when Moses goes up again, he gives him the law, which is what he's going to come down the mountain with. His instructions. But you see, before we can start climbing up the mountain, we need to start cleaning ourselves up. So that is why there's a lot of people that haven't even got to the top of the mountain yet, and they're not receiving instructions on top of the mountain because they haven't made the journey to start cleaning themselves up, and that's why they haven't received the instructions. Because until you start on that set-apart journey of yours where you start crucifying your flesh, you are not going to receive his instructions. There's a pattern. Listen. Who does go up into the mountain of Yahuwah? And who does stand in his set-apart place? You see, Jeremiah chapter 29 from verses 12. So Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, says Yahuwah, plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future, to give you a hope." And then, that's the outer court. No, that is what his promise is, to give you a future, to give you a hope. Then we come to verse 12. "And then you will come to me, and then you will call on me." You will call on me. And then you will come and you will pray to me. So when we call on him, all those who call on the name of Yahuwah will be saved. But then you have to come and pray to him. And then it says, then he listens. So what is he listening to? He's listening to the prayers. He's listening to the prayers. Are the prayers the kind of prayers that are being prayed to clean you up? Or are the prayers still kind of prayers that you're still praying about your own selfish life and your own selfish way and what you're asking him to do for you, but you are not really coming to pray a prayer of where you're wanting him to clean you up? Because you see, those who start to climb the mountain of Yahuwah are those who have to start being cleaned up. This is the revelation. Beloved, this is what the Father is giving me right now, is what he is sharing with me. And this is the revelation I'm receiving right now, as he's just opened up the mind of my understanding to be able to understand this. So if we go, keep your hand on Psalm 24. We're not finished. So let's just quickly go to Jeremiah chapter 29 so that we can read and see what is this revelation that the Father is giving us here, because he's obviously giving us a revelation. So listen to what he says. "For I know the plans I have for you. For I know the plans I'm planning for you, declares Yahuwah. Plans of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and an expectancy, to give you a future, to give you a hope." But listen to the pattern. "Then you shall call on me." So first you've got to call on him in order to be saved. So that's the first process. But you see, a lot of people want to just be saved, and that's where they stay. Saved. They don't even pray. They don't even come to him to pray. They just want to be saved. He says, "And then you call on me." That's those that are saved. "And you shall come and pray to me." Now listen to what he does. "And I shall listen to you." So, he's listening to your prayer. He's listening to see what prayers are you praying. What is the prayer that you are praying? Because you see, if your prayer is still self-centered, still about me, myself, and I, still about, oh Father, I need you to give me this, and I need you to give me this, and I need you to give me this, and you're not praying anything about drawing closer to Him, about wanting to be cleaned up. I mean, to be able to be His disciple. And some people are just happy to be where they are. They're not really praying that they are to be cleaned up. They're not really praying that they are to be able to serve Him. I mean, my goodness, I just got saved and I started praying dangerous prayers like, I want to be your disciple. And then I didn't understand why my life has been so turned upside down, because you don't just become a disciple. It's going to be an equipping and a training to be a disciple. Because why? To be a disciple means you've got to deny yourself. That's part of a cleaning process. You've got to pick up your cross. Oh my goodness, you're going to have a lot of trials and tests come your way. And then you've got to follow Him, which means you do what He did. It's not about you and your life. You do what He did. So, what does He say? Then you will come and pray, and I will listen. So, calling on Him is the outer court. Praying to Him is the holy place. You are now praying. You're now reading the Bible. You're now starting to get all of this. But you are supposed to be drawing closer to Him. But then, there's another part. Listen to what He says. And you shall seek me. And you shall find me. You shall seek me and shall find me when you search for me with your heart. So, beloveds, I'm going to say this now. Nobody is going to get to the place of coming to the fullness of truth if they are not knocking, if they are not seeking, if they don't truly love Him and they don't truly seek Him. There's many people that seek His hand. There's some people that seek His face, but they're still not willing to become obedient to Him. There's many people seeking His face, but they don't want to surrender their lives. So, He's saying, and you shall find, and you shall seek me, and shall find me when you search for me with your whole heart. That is now when you start coming into the Holy of Holies, because that's where you come to with Him. That's where you come to Him face to face. So only there do you find Him. You don't find Him in the outer court. You don't find Him in the holy place. You find Him in the Holy of Holies, because that is where His presence is dwelling, between the cherubim, in the Holy of Holies. So, then we get to verse 14. And I shall be found by you. Then He's going to find you. Then He's going to allow you to be found by Him. Says Yahuwah. And I shall turn back your captivity. So you see, then He's going to help us. Then He's going to come and destroy the ites in our lives. And shall gather you from all the nations, from all the places where I have driven you. So we've been driven in captivity in many areas of our lives, that He will come and deliver us. And I shall bring you back to the place from which I have exiled you. Then you come into that fullness of that place of where He becomes the one who dwells in your land. So we go again back to Psalm 24. So you see, we've got to start our journey. Our journey is, who does go up the mountain of Yahuwah? And who does stand in His set-apart place? You see, who's going to stand in His Holy of Holies? Who's going to stand there? Who did not bring his life to naught? Because you see, their life is making a difference. Their life is not void. Their life is not full of nothingness. It's the same word that they use. Do not take my name in vain. Do not bring my name to naught. Do not bring my name to nothingness. Your life has not been a life of nothingness. Your life is a life that is making a difference for the Father, because you are seeking Him with your whole heart. And did not swear deceivingly. You are not in a deceptive way. You are not walking in a deceptive way. And receive the blessing from Yahuwah and righteousness from allure of his deliverance. This is the generation. So see, this is the generation that's going to be who? Who's the ones that are going to go up the mountain of Yahuwah? This is the generation of those who seek him. So see, you will seek me and you will find me when you seek for me with your whole heart, because then I will bring you to the top of the Holy of Holies, which is the top of Mount Sinai. The top of the summit is the Holy of Holies. The plateau is the holy place. The altar at the bottom, where Moses built the altar, that's where the people were, in the outer court. But our job is to get to the top, to the summit, to get to the Holy of Holies. And then what did he receive on top of the holy? What did he receive in the Holy of Holies? Interesting. Wow. He received instructions on how he's supposed to live, on how we are supposed to live, on how he's supposed to live, on how the Father wants him to serve him. So what makes us think that the pattern has changed? So what makes us think that we are now going to stand, all these people that will come before the throne of the Father and get all these things, but yet nobody seems to get this instructions that they are supposed to be coming back to the way of the Father? Then I have to question, what vision are they seeing? Who is giving them the vision? Is it really the Father? Because for you to be able to come up high, you've got to seek him with your whole heart. And guess what? He's the one who spoke the law. Yeshua became it in the flesh, and the Ruach of Yahuwah is responsible to make us sure that we walk it out. These instructions. Then he says, lift up your heads, O you gates, and be lifted up your everlasting doors. They are the ones that are going to open the everlasting doors for the King of Glory to come in. They are the ones that receive the instructions from the Father to be able to go forth and open the gates that need to be opened, and close the gates that need to be closed for the King of Glory to come in. So close the gates where they are, where the enemy is holding a place captive, and open the gates for the King of Glory to come in, to dwell with the people. Who is the sovereign of esteem? Yahuwah, strong and mighty. Yahuwah, mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O you gates. Even lift up your everlasting doors. We're supposed to stand before these everlasting doors and open the doors for the Ancient of Days to come in. And let the sovereigns of esteem come in. Who is the sovereign of esteem? Yahuwah of hosts. He is the sovereign of esteem. So he's looking for someone to go up the mountain. So beloveds of the King, the Father is really giving us this exodus from a different perspective. Like I said, I have done this Torah portions, goodness knows how many times, and I've taught this already, even in the Torah portions, and read through it, but never is the Father giving the understanding, because we are in a new era, in a new season. The gates have been opened, doors are being opened. As much as there's doors opened for there's portals being opened for the demonic, Father has opened his doors. This was the year of, I told you, when we went to Israel, we had to open up the doors, the double doors. Double doors. And this is when he says no more delay. So if it's no more delay, then it means that we need to start walking in the fullness of understanding the scripture to the revelation of what we should, in order to be able to bring the truth to people where they are captive and bound by lies. Verse 3 says, and Moshe came and related to the people all the words of Yahuwah. So you see, what do? We got to come before the Father for him to give us the instructions in the Holy of Holies, between the cherubim, the speaking place. Because when you go look at it, when it's spoken of in Samuel, he speaks about the speaking place. So when Solomon was told to build this temple, that's what he called the Holy of Holies, the speaking place. It was called the speaking place because that is where the instruction is given. So do you understand why there's many people that are not getting instruction? Because they're not coming into that place. Because they're not on the place of where they are cleaning themselves up. Why should the Father speak to one who does have no intention of becoming holy as He's holy? He says, who may ascend that mountain? Those with clean hands and a pure heart. So you got to have clean hands. You got to have a pure heart. You got to be, for you to have clean hands and for you to have a pure heart, that means you are doing serious repentance and you are cleaning up your inner man. You're cleaning out your outer man and you're cleaning out your inner man. So the clean hands, I'm just seeing it now. Clean hands is what is on the outside of the body. That's what he's just revealing to me right now. Clean hands and a pure heart. The heart is the inner man. The hands represent the outer part of the body. So the hands are representing the outer part of the body. The hands represent what is it that we are offering Him? What is it that we are doing for Him? What is it that we're doing with our hands? What is it that we walk out with our lives? That's the outer part of man. But then it is the heart. The heart is made up of the mind, the will, and the emotions. And that is the inner man that now needs to come in line. Your mind must come in line. Your will must come in line. Your emotions need to come in line. And that is what he's busy doing. He's cleaning it up so that you may ascend that mountain, so that you can start to get the instructions, so that this is the generation that's going to seek His face, to receive the instruction, to open up the double doors, to open up the ancient gates, to be able to let the King of Glory come in. Because as much as what the devil is using his cohorts in order to be able to do the demonic work on the earth, where are His people doing His work? To be able to open the gates to allow the King of Glory to come in. Beloveds, I'm not screaming here. I am very, very passionate about what I am sharing here because this is coming from heaven right now. And this is the Father is just revealing. Moses had to go up. Because the Father wanted to reveal this to the people. The Father wanted to give it to the people Himself. They were never supposed to have a mediator. They were never supposed to have a Moses. They were never supposed to have Moses going to receive the Torah of his own. They were supposed to come. He was going to fill them with His Holy Ruach on that mountain. When they were told, prepare the people, they're coming up the mountain. He prepared them, they went up the mountain. And then what did they do? Oh, no. Moses, it's too loud. We don't want all this. We don't want the thunder. We don't want the lightning. We don't want this loud shofar. We don't want a screaming shofar. We don't want a shofar that's going to speak loud. We don't want to hear that. We'll listen to you, Moses. Moses, we'll hear what you got to say. So now Moses is the only one going up. They were all supposed to go to this place. They were all supposed to go there to be able to receive these instructions. But now, Moses is the only one who goes. So we all have an invitation to seek Him. And we will find Him when we seek Him with our whole heart, because this is the generation that we are in now, is the generation that's going to seek His face. And the generation that's going to seek His face, He's going to bring them back to where we fell from. We fell from this place already in the Garden of Eden. Then the Israelites fell from it at Mount Sinai. Now we are given an opportunity to say, you need to come to my holy mountain, my Mount Zion. I'm calling you to come up to Mount Zion, where I dwell. But in order for you to come up my mountain, you need to be able to have clean hands and a pure heart. You need to allow me to clean up your outer man. You need to allow me to clean up the work that you are busy doing, because you're doing your own thing. And you need to allow me to clean up your inner man, because your thinking is still not in line with me, your feeling is still not in line with me, and your will is still not in line with me. And you have many ites that are in your body, and you are dwelling amongst grave tombs. You are dwelling amongst the tombs with the dead, because you are still worrying about that which happened how long ago. And it should be gone. And we are allowing, let me not just say, let me put myself there. We are allowing demonic things to speak in our ear and play like a movie record, going on and on and on about what this one said and that one did and this one has and this one doesn't. And it's happened how long ago, but it's still a movie playing out. Doesn't stop. Lying, telling you how worthless you are, how not good enough you are, how you are nothing, how you are nobody, how you have... Yes, I understand. When we are in the presence of the Father, we are nothing, we are nobody. But you got to understand who lives within you. To raise up in understanding that Messiah, Yahushua, the hope of glory, is the one that is going to be in you and lead you and guide you. And so he needs a people now that need to raise up to prepare the way, the highway of holiness. Nothing unclean is on that highway. To prepare the way for the King of Glory to come in. But what is he looking for? He is looking for a people. He's looking for a people that is going to be able to truly serve him. So we were looking at where Moshe came and related to the people all the words of Yahuwah and all the right rulings. So you see, this is what people do not understand. They think that Moses came down the mountain only with the 10 commands. He didn't just come with the 10 commands. He came with the 10 commands and all the right rulings. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahuwah has spoken we shall do. Now, is this not exactly what we do? All that the Father speaks, we will do. This is what we say. And this is exactly where we worship him with our lips, but our hearts are far from him. Because you see, the Father has given us his word. The Father has given us his instructions. The Father has told us what it is that how he wants to be served. He's given us right rulings. He's given us his mishpatim, his right rulings. He's given us his commands, and he's telling us how he wants to be served. Now, the highest form of worship to the Father that we could ever give him is obedience. That is the highest form of worship. Now you see, there's many people that want to spend time. Please hear me when I say to you, there's absolutely nothing wrong. We have to spend time in the Word. We have to read the Word. We have to pray. We have to worship. We have to do all of that. But let me tell you something. If you are doing all of that, and you got all the knowledge of the Word, and you can quote this Bible from A to Z, from Aleph to Tav, from Genesis to Revelation, and you have all this head knowledge of the Word, but if you do not be putting it into practice, you are not pleasing to the Father. Because the way that you show him that you worship him is through your obedience. The way that you show the Father that you truly worship him is through your obedience. If you love me, you will obey my commands. If you love me, you don't only just obey the command of my spoken word, but you will obey the command of my written word. I've already put things in this word that I need you to keep. And I will speak things to you that you need to do. So if the Father says to you today, get into your car, you need to go down the road and you need to stop at house number 5 and you need to go and knock on that door and you need to go and give this person 100 rand or 1,000 rand, whatever, I don't know. You know, we will sometimes look at this and say, what? That's madness. Whose voice am I hearing now? Can't be the Father. And then we don't do what He tells us to do. So it's not just, there's many people that are obeying Him in the written word, but then there's many people that don't obey Him in what He tells them to do. And then there's many people obey Him in what He tells them to do. Oh, they get instructions, they go to heaven, they see all these things, and they are so quick to obey everything He tells them to do, but the written word, they don't obey. So He's looking for a people that are going to obey Him in spirit and truth. He's looking for a people that need to obey Him in spirit and truth. And so we've got to understand that that is why you'll get many people that are, for example, you'll get old people that have been reborn Christians for, say, 40, 50 years, but they're still immature. And then you'll get many young people who, because of their obedience to the Father, that they have taken the word, they obey what it says, they do what He tells them to do, and you'll see them and they soar with the Father. Why? They are a lot more mature. They might be younger in age, but they're a lot more mature in the ways of the Father. Why? Because they walk in obedience to the Father. What is it that is going to truly give us spiritual growth? What really brings spiritual growth is not all the hearing of the word. You can hear the word all day, every day, spoken in churches, spoken in sermons, spoken everywhere. That's not going to bring you spiritual growth. Spiritual growth is when the hearing is the shamaing. It's shama, when you hear to obey. So if you're only hearing, and you're hearing, and you're hearing, and you're hearing, and you're hearing, and there's those people, they go to church, and they hear, and they hear, and they hear, and they hear. But they never do. They are those that are in rebellion, and they will never have spiritual growth. Truth without obedience will be a hypocrite. If you have the truth of the word and you don't put it into practice, what are you? You are a hypocrite. And that's why we walk in the pound seat at the moment, because all these things are challenging us at the moment, because when this word is being preached, and this is where I am at the moment, is that I will stand there as I'm working at the moment on, Father is busy working at the moment on the inner man. You know, you can clean the outside of the cup, but it's the inside of the cup that's a problem. So the inner man now, mind, will, emotions, must come in line. Now all of a sudden there's a situation, and you have an opportunity to turn around and say, well, I'm either going to get upset about this, or I'm not, or what am I going to do? What am I going to do here? Somebody's pointing something out, or somebody's saying something, or somebody's done something, and you have an opportunity to either allow that to be able to get to you or not. You're going to either allow yourself to go into your emotion right now or not. I can't tell you that this is 3 people in 1 week that I can say to you, offense is the order of the day at the moment. It looks like if there's the gates of hell that's been opened, it's the gates of offense. Because all of a sudden, offense is the quickest thing that people take. Offense. They can just get upset with you for the slightest little thing. And it's okay to get into my flesh. It's okay to be able to behave in the flesh, Because you see, this is the way it's been for as long as what it's been, and we've just got away with it. And now the Father is zoning in on it and saying, you cannot continue to operate like that. You cannot continue to stay in that place. You have to overcome. And so that is why the Father wants us to be able to be obedient, because if we are obedient to His word, we will then start to mature, and then we will be those that are going to open the ancient gates. The Father is always speaking, but who is obeying? He's looking for an obedient vessel. So verse 4 says, Moshe wrote down all the words of Yahuwah and rose up early in the morning and built a slaughter place at the foot of the mountain and 12 standing pillars for the 12 tribes of Israel. And how amazing it is that we were there, right at the foot of Mount Sinai, and you still see the marble, you still see these 12 pillars, you still see the circles of those 12 pillars that was built, those 12 pillars that they made, that He built for the 12 tribes of the house of Israel. And He sent young men of the children of Israel, and they offered ascending offerings and slaughterings of peace offerings to Yahuwah of bulls. So here we see that He is wanting to be able to, He's built a slaughter place. The Father is, Moses built these 12 columns. And so the Father is looking for a person that is willing to be obedient to Him. One that doesn't just hear, but one that does. And that's why I had written over here Ezekiel in my file. Ezekiel 22 verse 30 says, He looked for a man to stand the gap before a nation, but found no one. May that not be said of us. Beloveds, may that not be said of us. And so when we get to verse 6, and it says, And Moshe took half the blood, because he does the slaughterings, he took half the blood and he took the book of the covenant. Moshe took half the blood and put it in basins, and half the blood he sprinkled on the slaughter place. And he took the book of the covenant and read it in the hearing of the people. And again, in one chapter, they say twice in one chapter. And they said, all that Yahuwah has spoken, we shall do and obey. We shall shema. We shall hear and we shall obey. Twice in one chapter, they tell him that they will hear and that they will obey. And Moshe went up, also Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and the 70 elders of Israel. And they saw Yahuwah of Israel, and under his feet, like a paved work of sapphire stone, and like the heavens for brightness. So here they stood in the plateau, because if you were down the bottom, it would be very difficult for you to see that. You've got to be in the plateau, because when you're at the plateau, you are able to see the tip of the mountain. You are able to see the very summit at the top. And yet he did not stretch out his hand against the chiefs of the children of Israel, and they saw Yahuwah, and they ate and they drank. And Yahuwah said to Moshe, Come up to me on the mountain and be there, while I give you the tablets of stone, and the Torah, and the command which I have written to teach them. So remember what I said. Abba Yahuwah spoke the law. Abba Yahuwah spoke the Torah. Yahushua becomes the living Torah. The Ruach of Yahuwah is the one that is going to write it on the tablets of our hearts. He wrote it with his finger, the tablets Abba Yahuwah wrote it on the tablets with his finger. But understand, those tablets were going to be broken. And then what was he going to do? He was then going to write it on the tablets of our hearts by his Ruach that we received. So do you see, there was going to be no need for him to have to write this on tablets of stone. There was going to be no need for them to be able to have a book of the covenant, because he was the one that was going to teach them, lead them, guide them. But they did not want it. And maybe he would have given them his Ruach. And then, as we've read in Ezekiel chapter 36. So, if you go read, let's actually go to Ezekiel chapter 11. Ezekiel chapter 11 from verse 17, therefore say, thus said the Master Yahuwah, and I shall gather you from the peoples, and I shall assemble you from the lands where you have been scattered, and I shall give you the land of Israel. And they shall go there, and shall take away all its disgusting matters and all its abominations from there. And I shall give them one heart, and put a new spirit within you. And I shall take the stony heart out of their flesh, because it was written on tablets of stone. That's why the first tablets had to break, because it was written on tablets of stone. So he takes those tablets, they get broken. He writes the second tablets, and it's the second tablets that are then going to be put into the Ark of the Covenant. And so they walk in my laws, and so it says, and I shall give them one heart, and I shall put a new spirit within them, and I shall take the stony heart out of their flesh and give them a heart of flesh. Listen. So that they walk in my laws and guard my right rulings and shall do them. And they shall be my people, and I shall be their Eloah. But to those whose hearts walk after the heart of their disgusting matters and their abominations, I shall recompense their deeds on their own heads, declares the Master Yahuwah. Outside will be the dogs. Praise Abba Yahuwah. Thank you, my Father, for your word. Thank you, Father, that you spoke this Torah. You gave it on top of the mountain. You gave him the commands. You gave him the Torah. You gave him the right rulings. And you have given us, who's the one that goes and leads them with a pillar of fire by night? Yoshua. Who's the one that is going to lead them? The pillar of fire by night. Yoshua is the pillar of fire by night and the cloud by day. Father, I thank you that by your Ruach, you have given us this Torah and the commands that you have written to be able to teach us. And we have no excuse now, because we are being taught it by the Ruach of Yahuwah, who knows all things. And Messiah Yahushua is the one who died for us, so that he could raise up as the living Torah. He walked on this earth as the living Torah, died, resurrected, gave us his dunamis power, so that we may be able to walk out, not a lawless people, but a people walking with your right rulings. And so I praise you and I thank you, Father, for this word and for that which you are doing in this hour in our lives, and that we want to be those that will ascend the mountain of Yahuwah, that we will have clean hands and that we will have a pure heart, that we will be those that will seek your face, so that we may be those that open the ancient doors for the King of Glory to come in. I thank you for this word, Father, in Yeshua's name I pray this. Hallelujah.